Hi everyone, my name is Taylor and I will be teaching you about auto animation and how to create a sliding prototype in Adobe XD. So this guide is for beginners who want to learn how to turn their mockups into more complex prototypes. So if you don't know how to create a prototype, don't worry, I'll be teaching you in this tutorial. But first I want to start by talking about what auto animation is and the purpose of prototyping. And auto animation is a simple yet powerful feature that lets us link together artboards in a prototype with a variety of different animations. So it kind of spices up our prototypes. And these transitions allow us to create really interesting interactions with our prototype. And it might seem complicated, but it's definitely simpler to understand once you see it in action. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about artboards, and I'm going to move over so that we can see the original artboard that I imported called Onboarding 01. And this represents the screen for your application or web page, but in this case, it's an app. And Adobe XD streamlines this design process by providing popular screen sizes for different versions of iPhones, iPads, desktops, or even just custom sizes. And you can find these by going to the artboard button in the left-hand side and clicking on that. And you can see, you can see all the different iPhone types, tablet types, desktop, and even Apple Watches. And, but the first thing I want to do to create our prototype is to come in and duplicate this artboard 2 additional times. And there's a number of ways that I can do this, but the simplest is to click the name of the artboard and press Command C and Command V. And we're just going to do that 2 times. So now we have our 3 artboards. And I want to explain the concept that we're going to be working on here because many apps have a tutorial or an onboarding set of slides when you first open the app. And this helps to communicate the functionality of the interface, and it can kind of be seen as a quick tour of the app. And so the page that we're going to be working on is a type of card system where you can swipe in order to get a few tips or tricks for interacting with the app. And we have these cards in Step Define, but we have to make them look different and change the look and feel of the 2 additional artboards. And so what we're going to do is, first off, we want to differentiate between these 3 artboards. So we're going to change the naming. And you can see at the top, this one says Onboarding 01. So we're going to make this one Onboarding 02 and Onboarding 03. So now we can tell these are 3 different artboards. And when you click once on this image, you can see that there's 3 other cards. There's a Discover, Learn, and Explore. And we want these 3 artboards to show those transitions or show those different cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and we're going to drag over and center that card. So now the second artboard shows you the second card. And we're going to do the same thing with the third. We're going to click and drag, center that third card, and place it. Perfect. So we're almost set with the design process, but you can still see these little rectangles at the bottom. They signify which card you're on. So first card, first rectangle. Second card should be on the second rectangle. So we need to change the color of that in order to help the user differentiate where they are. When we click on it, we can see that the opacity is at 50%. So we want to change that to 100, and we're going to change that first one back to 50. And the same thing for the third card. Change that to 100, change that to 50. So now that we're done with the design process, you can go up to the top left-hand corner where it says prototype, and we're going to want to click on that. So now we're going to no longer be able to design our artboards, but we're going to start to create connections. And with auto animation, we'll be able to create seamless transitions between these 3 artboards for our prototype, and the final product will simulate a type of card carousel. However, we're going to start really simple just by connecting our artboards, and this is done using wires. So you have to click a certain object that you want to, like when you press a button and it takes you to a certain page. These are going to be our buttons, these little rectangles at the bottom. We want these to be clickable elements. And so what we're going to do is when you click on this second rectangle, we want it to take you to the second card. So we're going to double click on that rectangle. And as you can see, it's highlighted in this blue color, which means that it's selected. And there's also this blue arrow. what we're going to do is we're going to click on that arrow and drag it to the second artboard. So now when you click on that second rectangle, it's going to take you to that second card or the second artboard. And that creates a simple prototype. You click on it, it takes you there. But we want to make it a little bit more complex or a little bit smoother. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the property inspector panel, which is on the right hand side here. And we're going to start off by looking at the trigger section. Now, we want the user to tap on the rectangle and it'll swipe to the next card. So pretty self-explanatory. We want to click on tap, but there's also a bunch of other options to drag for iPhone, keypad for console, and voice, similar to Siri. Now for the action, or type of transition, we want to apply that to the trigger. And so in this tutorial, we're going to click on Auto-animate. Now that brings up a bunch of other options. There's the destination, easing, and duration. And the destination, pretty simple. It just is stating which artboard is going to be present at the end of the transition. So when you click on that rectangle, you want to finish on the second artboard. And since it's called onboarding 02, it says onboarding 02, and that's correct. If it's wrong, you can click the drop down and find all the other artboards. Now, typically the easing is already on ease out or none when you open this up, but since I had already been working on this, it's already on snap. And for this tutorial, we want to do snap because we want the card to kind of snap in place. And for duration, that explains how long you want it to take to slide, and you can kind of play around with that. But I think for this tutorial, we're going to keep it at 0.3 seconds. Now, these options are universal, and once you set them for one wire, they stick to the rest of the other wires when you place them. So we're going to go back through and we're going to add the wires for the rest of these artboards. So the third one, we're going to double click here, takes you to the third one. First one goes here, here, to the first artboard, and the second rectangle goes to the second. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to set the home page. So this is going to be the starting point for our app. And so what we're going to do is we want to set this as the home page. And you can do this by clicking on the name, and a little gray home screen pops up. What we're going to do is we're going to click on that and it turns blue. So now when we go to preview our animation, it's going to start on this app. So if you go to the upper right-hand corner and you see this little play button and you click on it, the home page is going to pop up. Now, what we're going to do is we want to test if these buttons work. So we're going to click on the second button and it takes us to the second card and it slides. Same thing with the third. If we want to go back to the first page, click here. And that's basically all there is to it. It's pretty simple. You can play around with the interaction panel, do a lot of really cool stuff, but this was just a simple tutorial on how to do a sliding animation, and I hope it was really helpful. Hope you guys have a good one.